Today, we'll be replacing the PCBA board in a K1 Max. This printer was giving us an error message that said abnormal heat break fan. Here is the replacement part sent to us by Creality. Before we start, be sure the printer is unplugged. This prevents electrical shorts and keeps our replacement parts safe. I'm just going to pull the PTFE tube so I can keep it out of the way. First, we need to remove the LiDAR by loosening these two screws. Once you take these two screws out, the LiDAR can be lowered from the bracket and you can pull the plug from the harness. Just grip it as close to the plug as you can so you don't pull out any wires. Next, we'll take the front cover off by taking out this screw and this screw. Once you removed both screws, you can remove the cover by pushing back on the chain and rotating the cover up and lifting up over the 2 points that line up with the 2 holes at the top of the cover, and then unplugging the fan. I'll just move the PTFE tube out of the way and pull these 2 top plugs out of the PCBA board. Next, we'll take out these 3 screws so we can pull the board away from the hot end. Got all 3 screws loosened up and the board is free from the hot end, so we can pull it back and get at the other plugs and try not to lose your hardware. But the other 3 plugs are on the back corner of the board. It's going to be your heater cartridge, your thermistor, and your filament runout sensor. So just pop those free and the board's in your hand. Let's disconnect the fan from the old board so we can connect it to the new board. Definitely looks like the old board had a loose connection or something to burn the plugs up. But you can see it compared to the new board on the left. You need to be aware that there are 2 versions of this board. Shown here on the left is the JST style, the old style connectors that we are replacing today. And the ones on the right have a catch. You can see it on the wiring, like here on the thermistor. You can see the little catch on the side there. It also appears on the heater element. I'll show you that here. There we go. If you do use the new board, you want to make sure you get the wires to go with it so you don't have any compatibility issues. And now to continue assembly of this printer, we need to plug in the thermistor, the heater, and the filament runout sensor on the corner of this board before we attach it to the hot end. Now it's time to connect the hot end cooling fan to the new board. Now when reattaching the board to the front of the hot end, you want to make sure you keep the wires behind this black plastic piece on the side right here, because if you leave them hanging out like shown here, the cover will smash the wires, could damage the wires, and you'll find yourself unplugging it and trying to work the wire under the side. And sometimes you can plug it with tweezers, but most cases you end up taking the board back off. I usually start with 1 bolt. You slide it through the board, through the fan, and start the thread into the hot end. And once you get 1 started, the other 2 are usually pretty easy to follow up. Once the board is attached to the hot end, just snug up the 3 bolts. Don't over tighten. You don't want to break anything, but just snug enough to make sure nothing goes anywhere. Once it's tightened up, you want to plug in these 2 plugs at the top Just plug in the flat plug and then the square plug. Now we're ready to put the cover on the front of the hot end. Just plug in the cooling fan. And when you're doing this process, just watch for wires. There's the wire here for the cooling fan, and there's wires on both sides of the hot end. You want to push back the chain, catch the 2 points at the top to line up with the 2 holes in the cover. Always push these wires back, and then push the cover on snug. Once you have the cover in place, just check for wires, make sure nothing's pinched, and put your 2 side screws back in. Time to plug in your LiDAR. Once you have the LiDAR plugged in, you can put the 2 screws holding it to the bracket on the side of the hot end. Time to connect the PTFE tube and run a test print. Our repair is complete. Thank you for watching.